The grocery store was busier than usual that afternoon, the air heavy with the hum of chatter and the occasional beeping of scanners. Emma pushed her cart slowly down the aisle, her list folded neatly in her pocket, though she had already memorized every item. She picked carefully, comparing prices, counting in her head. Her kids, Ben and Lily, trailed behind, their hands brushing against boxes and cans, eyes catching on things she knew she couldn't afford today. Her stomach felt tight, as if the weight of her bills had settled there. Last week's car repairs had swallowed the little cushion she'd built over months, and now every dollar mattered. She had tried to hide the worry from her children, but they sensed it. Kids always do. At the checkout, she unloaded her cart onto the belt, each item a small victory: bread, milk, eggs, a bag of apples. She kept her eyes on the conveyor, ignoring the impatient sighs of the man behind her. When the cashier read the total, Emma slid her debit card into the reader and forced a smile. But the screen flashed red, declined. A flush rose to her cheeks. She tried again, declined. Her throat tightened, and her voice came out too soft when she asked the cashier to remove a few items. The apples, the cheese. Her heart thudded as the total dropped, but the card still refused her. She didn't notice him at first. The elderly man in a worn flannel shirt, standing just a few feet away. He stepped forward, placed a hand on the counter, and in a quiet voice told the cashier to ring it all back up. Emma turned toward him, words catching in her mouth. He simply shook his head, his expression warm but unreadable, and handed over a folded bill. For a moment, the world seemed to hush. The cashier nodded. The scanner beeped again, and Emma's groceries were packed. She tried to thank him, but he was already stepping away, leaving only the faint smell of laundry soap and winter air in his wake. Emma stood there, her children looking up at her with wide eyes, and felt a swell of something that was not just gratitude. It was relief, and shame, and an ache she couldn't name. She walked out of the store with her bags, her heart heavier than before, wondering why kindness could hurt as much as it healed. The drive home was silent, except for the sound of the tires rolling over the wet pavement. Ben and Lily sat in the back, holding small snacks the cashier had tucked in with the groceries, but they didn't eat. Emma's hands stayed tight on the wheel, her mind replaying the moment at the checkout, like a film she couldn't pause. The stranger's face lingered in her thoughts, not for his features, but for the way he looked at her, not with pity, not with judgment, just human to human. That unsettled her more than she expected. She had grown used to being invisible, blending into the background of long shifts and small paychecks. But in that moment, she had been seen. At home, she unpacked the groceries in the dim kitchen light. The bread went into the cupboard, the milk into the fridge, and the apples she almost left behind sat on the counter, red and bright against the worn wood. She touched one gently, as if it might bruise. That night, after the kids were asleep, Emma sat at the kitchen table and stared at her folded grocery list. The kindness she'd received felt too big for her to carry alone. She thought about the stranger's worn shirt, the way he didn't wait for her gratitude. He hadn't even told her his name. It was as if the act itself was the message, a reminder that help could appear without warning, without demand. But the warmth of that thought mixed with a deep, twisting discomfort. She wanted to give back, to prove to herself she wasn't just a receiver of charity. Yet her own bank account told her there was little she could offer in return. The next day, she found herself glancing around the diner where she worked, watching the regulars sip coffee from chipped mugs. She wondered if any of them had been on the receiving end of such an unexpected gift, and if so, how they had carried it. She didn't have the answers yet, but she knew one thing: she couldn't let the moment end at the grocery store. That stranger had dropped something into her life, not just food, but a seed, and whether she had the means or not, she felt an almost urgent need to let it grow. The seed began to grow in quiet ways. It started with the smallest of gestures, refilling a customer's coffee before they asked, offering a smile to the tired mother who came into the diner with her restless toddler, leaving a quarter in the vending machine for the next person. None of these cost her more than a moment, but each left her with a strange sense of fullness she hadn't felt in years. One rainy afternoon, a man came into the diner with only enough change for a cup of coffee. He sat by the window, dripping water onto the floor, staring at nothing. Emma didn't ask questions. She brought him a plate of toast and eggs, sliding it onto the table without a word. He looked up, startled, and she saw something flicker in his eyes. a reflection of her own gratitude from that day at the grocery store. Over the weeks, she began to notice more. The older woman counting coins in the checkout line. The teenager nervously asking about job openings. The man on the bus who clutched a paper bag as if it held all he owned. Each time, she found herself stepping forward, not to erase their struggles, but to soften the edge just a little. Her life didn't magically transform. Bills still came. Her shifts were still long, but the weight she carried felt lighter, as if sharing in others' burdens made her own somehow easier to bear. She realized kindness wasn't a transaction, it was a language, one she had learned from a stranger and was now speaking fluently in her own quiet way. One evening, while walking home with her kids, they passed the same grocery store. Lily looked up and asked if they could buy apples. Emma smiled and agreed, slipping a few into their bag without worrying about the cost. As they walked out, she thought of the man in the flannel shirt, the one she had never seen again. She wondered if he knew the reach of what he'd done, that his single act had not just fed them once, but had fed her spirit enough to keep giving. She hoped, wherever he was, he might feel a warmth in his chest, for reasons he couldn't explain, the same warmth she felt now. And she knew this was the quiet beauty of it. Kindness didn't need to be traced to matter. It lived on in the spaces between people, passing silently from hand to hand. Some gifts cannot be repaid in the same form they're given, but they can be multiplied, carried forward into places the giver will never see. That day in the grocery store, Emma thought she had been given food. In truth, she had been given permission to believe she was worth helping, and to believe she could help others too. We may never know how far a single act of kindness travels, but perhaps that's the point. It's not ours to measure, it's ours to give. If this story touched you, share it forward. Like, comment, and subscribe for more.